Boo.
All right. What's going on, Luke?
Not much. I wasn't expecting that one. It's quite the endorsement.
All right. This is Jeff Townsend, and of course, the loco one, the crazy one, the man that is here to cause foobar and chew bubble gum, and he's all out of bubble gum. It's Luke.
I got a few fun stories tonight, a few scary stories. I'm excited. This is one thing I look forward to all the time.
Yeah, this show is awesome. Like I say every week, if you haven't before, share it with a friend. You know, you guys are obviously enjoying it, so why not share it with somebody else so they can experience the joy too?
I was listening to some of the 4th of July stories the other day, because normally it takes me like a while before I go back and listen to them again. I was listening to them over the past couple of days, and I was like, man, these are some great stories.
Yeah, no, there's been some great stories that come out of this. That's what we're going to try to do tonight. We're going to try to have another great night. I have 2 stories. You have 3. You have a video, so make sure you stay tuned. It is of a Wendigo sighting.
Oh.
So we've mentioned that before on this show briefly. I don't know if we've had too many. Have we had a story yet? I know we've mentioned them.
We've not had exactly a Wendigo story. We've had things that people thought might have been a Wendigo or something like that. But this is the first one, I think, that was actually a Wendigo.
I see all your responses and I appreciate you joining. Like I said, we're live across 8 platforms. We're going to kick things off this evening. Luke is going to share the first story of the evening.
All righty. This is called An Odd Encounter in Shenandoah Valley. I go to school in Harrisonburg, Virginia. And it was the summer of 2023. I was in my home late at night, 1 a.m., hanging out with my roommate. And we live in a 3-story home that we rent. We were on the 2nd floor in the kitchenette, and we heard a faint moaning. At first we think it's the neighbors through the walls, but it starts to sound more like a baby, but not next door, but outside at our front door. We started to move towards the stairs to get a better look at the front door from the window, and whatever was there started screaming and banging at the door heavily. Almost felt like a really large dog or some sort of other 4-legged animal was slamming into the door. We freaked out, didn't know what to do. We sat in the living room and it kept going on for about 30 minutes. Then, after that time, it got more and more extreme. We were freaked out and we slept. Our bedrooms were on this 1st floor, so we didn't know what to do. Kept going on and on, so we decided to call the non-emergency police phone number. Started back up heavily at this point while we were on the phone, and we're describing it to the dispatch. Is that the noise you're describing? I just heard in the background. So we knew we weren't just hearing things. They said they would send someone out, but no one ever came. Me and my roommate decided we were fed up. I grabbed a kitchen knife, and so did he, and we walked down the stairs as it's still scratching and banging. Get to the door, and I look out the peephole, and nothing was there. Go back upstairs, and it starts again for around 10 minutes or so. After that, it stopped for the rest of the night. Eventually go downstairs, and I finally get to sleep, and wake up the next day. Check outside, nothing was there, no damage to the door, nothing at all. We still think about it to this day, and convinced it might have been a skinwalker or some other thing. Does anyone else have any thoughts on this? Was it a skinwalker, a spirit, or anything else? Now, in the comments on this story, someone mentioned that his area is not known for skinwalkers, but what they are known for is something called a crawler. And they are very large creatures that can get down on all fours and slam against things a lot in the night.
A crawler is what I call the zombie on 7 Days to Die that can't walk.
Yeah, I remember.
You know that new console update comes out end of this week.
I'm looking forward to it, yeah.
You have to buy the game, though, but still
We might have to play that at some point, because that would be interesting.
I need more about crawlers, they're saying in the chat.
I have another story about crawlers tonight. After I heard this one and saw someone say crawler in the comments, I had to find another one, and I did. So we'll have a little bit more about them coming up. They are definitely a strange creature, one I'd never heard of before. But apparently they are something that they see a lot in the Virginia area and other places down south.
Virginia?
Yep.
I like how person was really seeking, I don't want to say support, that's not the right word, seeking feedback on what he may have encountered. You don't experience that on these stories very often.
No, that's what I thought was interesting too. This guy wasn't just telling a story to throw it out there.
Right.
He had questions.
Is he legitimately like, what the hell was that?
Yeah.
Not a whole lot of events to discuss the what happened, though. You can briefly do so if you'd like. Pretty limited on that.
Yeah, just that this thing, whatever it was, sounded like a baby at first.
That was disturbing.
Yeah, and then it started slamming into the door. Like I said, the whole action of crawlers slamming into things, that is something that carries over in other stories that I've read. I don't know what they are. I can't really tell you, but what I've seen and what I've read about them today, if actually most of this comes from today, I'm very interested in learning more about them because there's definitely a lot of different cryptid-like creatures that you hear a lot about, but I never heard about this before. And so I'm excited to learn more. I probably have more stories later on in other episodes about them as well because, you know, you hear about, I've talked about skinwalkers several times. It's interesting to learn a new one, that's for sure.
Go to the chat here. I turned into a crawler when I had COVID. This is freaking me out because this is exactly something I had thought I dreamt, unless it was real. Oh, you're really getting trippy. Did anybody talk about having dreams about this?
No. From what I've heard, well, I mean, these people all don't believe they were dreams. They believe they encountered them in real life. So I do know that a lot of people have described them, and they all have the same basic mannerisms. Slamming against the doors or windows, and then not being there when you look.
That was the crazy part that I thought, that when they looked, it wasn't there, but slamming so powerfully into it.
Another comment, like he said, he asked if everyone thought it was a skinwalker. Someone pointed out that really isn't that area at all.
Just for reference, it's usually Arizona?
The Navajo lands.
The Navajo lands, of course. The Navajo lands.
I'm really interested in Viv Games' dream about this, and
the guy dreams so much shit, it's insane.
he's like 30% of our stories.
But it could be just because the dreams, or he thinks they're dreams. I don't know. It's crazy.
I'm looking for
terrifying though, isn't it? Like, wouldn't you hate to be him? All the dreams he has, how the guy sleeps. Hell, is Freddy Krueger's real next? Sorry, I interrupted you. Go ahead.
It's possible that he encountered a crawler, though.
Maybe that's how Freddy Krueger is.
He apparently said he sent the story to somebody. I'm actually looking forward to this. Anyway, really like that story just because of what it set me on to.
Yeah.
It put me towards a new type of creature, and I'm looking forward to more stories about them.
Now, is this thing similar to a night crawler?
Not like all right, so there's this, the Frisco night crawlers or something like that. That one's
I don't know what that means, for sure.
It was a creature that was caught on camera. People think might have been an alien creature because of the way it moves. It's so insane looking. Crawlers that this is about, they range up to 7 feet tall, are stark white, and they get down on all fours and crawl around like a crab walk. You know, if you ever did crab walk as a kid, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Kind of like that.
Every day. No, I'm an adult. What are you talking about? Yeah, I know what you're talking about. Like, if everybody wants to scare somebody, they just crab walk towards them, you know?
I mean, a regular person doing that's terrifying. If you're walking down the street and someone started crab walking at you, you would go the other way.
Yeah, I would turn around for sure. I'll hold up the rest of my comments for the next story in regards to crawlers.
That sounds like a good idea, and I'm ready for yours.
All right, let's get the music queued up. Okay, this next story that I'm about to share is called The Cloaked Man in the Cemetery, posted 10 years ago. So I think it's about time for me to post this story of an incident that happened about 2 years ago. First of all, let me talk about the cemetery and the area around it. The cemetery is visually stunning, has a completely open area where you can see all the graves around and into the distance. A spooky maze-like section with nature overwhelming the gravestones, the overgrown plants everywhere, and a large church located at the far end. It's eerie, but it's also very beautiful at the same time. But before this incident, I never really cared about this graveyard all that much. I walked past it when having to go meet my friends or when I just took a shortcut to get home, and recently to get to college. The cemetery was next to some very spooky alleyways and a council estate. So you had to watch your back when you walked through this place due to the constant rumors of drug dealers or other criminals possibly roaming the area at night. Nevertheless, the cemetery didn't seem too interesting to me until my friends told me a bizarre story involving his brothers and their friends. At nighttime, the brothers and their friends used to play a game inside the cemetery at night. I don't recall my friend telling me exactly what kind of game it was, but that they were being typical teenagers, causing mischief to make the day worth it, since the district had the same excitement as watching grass grow. About 20 minutes of doing their little game, they began to notice something off. The guys felt like they were being watched. The atmosphere turned dark and bleak. Tension was amongst themselves, because they knew they weren't alone. Soon enough, one of the guys saw it. A person. This person was wearing a cloak, and he was holding something. This person was crouching under gravestones and was silently trying to move from one to the other, getting closer and closer. Well, one of them noticed it and informed the others of the situation. They turned, all of them. Before the others could spit out a single word, the cloaked man began chasing them, holding a hammer-like weapon. This guy was insanely fast, but due to the adrenaline rush and sport background of these kids, the teens were faster. I don't want to make this story any longer, so I'll finish by saying that the friends jumped over a large fence and escaped the cloaked man. The second they jumped over, a large thud was heard, and the fence was pushed forward very hard. The cloaked man had hit the fence with his large hammer and was close to cracking open the fence. Afterwards, they got home and two of them told their brother, my friend. At first, I didn't believe the story, and neither did my other friends. The friend named Sam who told me and the others of the story doesn't exactly lie a lot, and it seemed serious. I was thinking that his brothers were lying to him, but I thought, hey, screw it. I'll go see if this cloaked man is there, and you guys are coming with me. A day after presenting my friends with a little adventure idea, I began planning we should meet and how we are going to do this quest. Suddenly, my friend David texts me. He already went looking for the cloaked man the night before with his friends. His encounter with this cloaked man was a little less frantic than the other confrontation I heard about, but this time, a lot more outlandish. David went with two other people. When they went deep into the cemetery, one of the guys immediately shouted, "Hey, no face!" Dave tried to tell him to shut up, but he wouldn't stop shouting it. The group carried on through the pathway, surrounded by dead people, until they reached a large shed past the gravestones. David and the others hid behind a bush because they suddenly saw him. The cloaked man was inside the shed. He was examining his weapons, apparently a large hammer, a rusty-looking wrench, and a decaying, nasty-looking machete. Eventually, he stopped and went out of his shed and into the church that was next to it. Unexpectedly, the church bell is heard, loudly. The guys watching don't know what the hell is going on, but the bell is ringing for a good minute. The bell is, strangely enough, ringing in a weird pattern. David tells the others to go back to another spot. They hide behind a bench this time, being furthest away from the strange church. Then the cloaked man comes out, looking concerned and ready to attack. He has an axe and is out and ready. Panic rushes through everyone behind the bench, making everyone involved quickly agree to get the hell out of there. They try to sneak out, but David keeps his eyes on the cloaked man. What the cloaked man does will give my friends various amounts of what the hell thoughts forever. Cloaked man stops dead in his tracks and then falls to the ground. What's he doing? He's crawling around the gravestones rapidly, going from one to another. However, he's not just doing that, he's making noises. The sound of the cloaked man spewing and growling, like when those sounds began, the night all of a sudden became even more frightening and frigid. Then abruptly, he gets up and smashes one of the gravestones with his axe out of nowhere, without any reason, and lets out a haunting scream up into the air. Again, without any reason, David says, "Screw hiding," and they all run out. Cloaked man doesn't even chase them, but looks into the distance. When he finishes his story of discovering more about the Cloaked Man, I thought there would be no point in going there now. We all know that this Cloaked Man is a freaking weirdo that preys on teens and poor other people that are visiting gravestones. What else is there to find out? Well, I'm big on adventure, so I thought that me, David, Sam, and many others should go and explore a little more, just to see what else this guy does. So a few days later, we have our team, me, Sam, David, Charlie, and Mike. Charlie is a fat slob, and Mike is a witty man of the group. So we all meet up at the local gas station at daytime. Yeah, we were going to go at nighttime at first, but everyone wussed out. So we went during the middle of the day. We slowly walked through the empty alleyways and the council houses until we got to the gates, which were locked. We jumped over and began our adventure. Sadly, Charlie and Mike just weren't having it and climbed back out. They weren't going anywhere, though. They were going to be waiting for us. We wanted them to come with us, but after a minute, we left them and walked through the large pathway, the gravestones around us. About 20 minutes went by, nothing at all was happening. Instead of going straight to the shed, we decided to take another route. All of us went through the maze-like section where the gravestones were just covered with plant vines that had overgrown. We began walking around and we began arguing amongst each other. Sam was bored and wanted out. Dave didn't care that much and wanted to go back out into the open and find the shed and church. 5 minutes of pointless arguing later, and suddenly we hear footsteps. We look around. Nothing. "Get out your phone," Sam says to me. "All right, wait a second," I reply. So my phone is out, I unlock it and go to camera. I'm pointing at the remoteness with my iPhone, but nothing is lurking in the distance. At least not in our vision. We knew someone was near us, so we began frantically walking through this maze. Sam wants me to begin recording, so I do just that. Since nothing has happened again, the recording just becomes dragged out video of us walking around like idiots, looking in every direction suddenly. I switch the damn phone off, and we go deeper into the cemetery. It gets darker and darker, and the vines and everything growing over gets tighter and tighter. Then I see it. The Cloaked Man is following us. I finally saw the bastard. It was when I looked behind us, he was hiding behind a huge angel statue. He was crazy close to us. "Guys, I see him behind us. Let's get the hell out of here," I'm shouting. "You sure?" David says. David, being the confident and curious of the group, walks back and tries to catch the guy. I didn't want to see this crazy guy pop out, but I wasn't leaving my friends, so we all went back to the statue. He was gone. Sam got overly paranoid and wanted us to get out. He had a crawly feeling that the Cloaked Man was staring at us, but we continued on, being idiots, and that's when I spotted him again on the other side. He was a little bit further away from us, so I wasn't as scared, but I could see him trying to get closer, blending in horribly with the trees surrounding him. I started freaking out. David and Sam noticed something moving, so we ran about 30 feet away and tried to hide. The Cloaked Man was now going in the other direction and entered the church, which was noticeable where we hid. Then we heard those bells. David confirmed that those bells were the same ones that he had heard the other night when he went. Then the Cloaked Man came out with a freaking huge axe. Without any hesitation, he charged at our direction. Let me just clarify the locations by saying that we were still in the maze-like area, the cemetery, but we could still see the open area in the distance where the gravestones and church were located. So he was far away, but charging in our direction. He knew where we were, even though we were hiding and nowhere near him. He still knew our location. He didn't change direction or anything. He sprinted in one line with an axe in both hands. When I realized he was getting closer and closer, I yelled, "Run!" And we legged it. We ran and looked back. He was right there, ready to swing at us. We didn't want to split up, so we ran around the maze until we found a pathway with large hedges on the side. No going back. We all ran and ran through the path. But after running down the path, I was beginning to have a heart attack. I could hardly breathe. When I looked in front, I felt so much fear. I was already losing hope. It was a dead end. Me and my friends were greeted by a locked shed at the end of the path. No way to get in. No way to climb on top of the shed. We had the feeling of dread taking over our bodies. We waited a few minutes, and the Cloaked Man didn't come. We silently went the other direction and stumbled back to the overgrown plant gravestone maze. We looked everywhere, finding broken tombstones and ripped up branches everywhere. There was silence for about 10 minutes. When we looked in every direction again, hoping the Cloaked Man was gone, all of us were sneaking around until we got out of the maze, and the feeling that was inside of us because of being in that horrible area disappeared. Mundane gray clouds that suddenly appeared. It was sunny day at first, but gradually got worse because of England's bipolar weather. It made the cemetery look more disturbing and bleak than it already was. As we walk on, we hear a thunderstorm, and it looks like it's going to rain. We try to jog out there when we look and see something sticking out. Holy shit, the Cloaked Man is in the distance, with his hood off, standing on top of a gravestone. His face was visible, but not exactly. He was wearing a cliché Halloween mask for some reason. We stare at him for about 20 seconds before he goes down and begins crawling in our direction. Screw that. We ran and ran until we jumped over the fence. Huh? Charlie and Mike weren't there. The bastards got bored and left. But you can't blame them. After that, we were all freaked out and decided to never go to the cemetery ever again. I did go there years later, though, to film some stuff for a college assignment. We went home, and that was it. The next day, though, I walked through a street with the cemetery on the left side, the other side of the cemetery where the alley council buildings were, and saw a red tape and police inside the graveyard. Next to the church, I wish I had asked the police officer what was going on, but I was too freaked out to go back there, even with the police everywhere. I never did find out what happened there, and now that I think about it, I don't think I want to know. But there were rumors that the guy that was stalking and chasing us was just the caretaker wearing a mask, trying to scare people who went to the cemetery just to mess around. So the police investigation probably has nothing to do with the Cloaked Man.
You know what that reminded me of? The legend of Spooky Hollow, or Sleepy Hollow, sorry.
Yeah.
Because, like, he's in the thing, and he's, chasing people off, or presumably killing them if they're still there.
Yeah.
With regards to what happened with the police investigation the next day. Freaking creepy. The crawling around part.
Growling and making noise. It's kind of connected to the crawling thing, which I thought was kind of weird, but...
Yeah, I know. Like, we have that happen a lot, right? We randomly tell stories that are weirdly connected.
Yeah. The Cloaked Man, though, Luke.
You know what? The one explanation of the groundskeeper chasing people off, that's a legitimate explanation.
Yeah.
He could just be some sort of vengeful spirit that was killed there, though, just as easily.
Sounds like a lot of energy spent trying to scare people.
It does sound like more than any normal human being would do. Obviously, this would be a crazy person trying to scare people off.
For sure.
Like, that's why it really feels like the legend of Sleepy Hollow. Like, this is like some sort of creature, some sort of thing that is there that had died in the area and can't leave the area. And just, like, chases anyone there at the night.
I guess the groundskeeper would make sense, though, because he was, like, in and out of that shed pulling out weapons.
Yeah.
Kind of weird, though, that he would have such a... I guess they said a wrench and stuff like that, but different weapons,
Yeah. Very reasonable to suspect that the groundskeeper would do that, or could do that, but strange that he would. Like, it just seems like this is a crazy person doing this. So, best case scenario, it's a crazy person. Worst case scenario, it's some sort of revenant.
I don't know which one's worse. It's funny because you, like, have your friends tell you, like different people have told them these things happen to them, right? And you do get to the point where you're like, screw it, I'm going to go check it out.
Right.
Then it happens to you too. That's actually pretty crazy.
That's one of those stories that should be told all the time, every Halloween. That's a great, great scary story. That's one of those stories that makes you excited about monsters and ghosts. Crazy people wielding an axe and crawling around on the ground, smashing up stuff.
What did you think about the huge axe comment?
I can picture it in my head, right? I've seen some. I've had
you're picturing like Gears of War style running.
Yeah, like some because like they describe this guy as like crawling towards them and stuff like that.
He's doing weird stuff. Yeah, smashing gravestones, stepping on gravestones.
See, now that doesn't seem like a gravekeeper, right?
What I thought, yeah.
A gravekeeper wouldn't smash a gravestone. So that's why it seems more like some sort of like revenant or some sort of evil spirit.
What about being there day and night?
Interesting. They said it was there day and night. Yeah, that's just
They
crazy.
went back during the day.
Yeah.
His actual occurrence there was during the day.
Yeah, that's crazy. That also doesn't seem like it's the gravekeeper, right? Because they would be in shifts. So it wouldn't be one gravekeeper for 24 hours a day. It seems like there's definitely something going on there. And that was a great one. I loved every bit of that.
Well, it was a long reading, but I stuck to it.
It was good. I'm leaning towards something like a Sleepy Hollow style revenant, like the Headless Horseman. Like the whole time I was like, that's what this sounds like. The way he's acting, is crazy, but he's pursuing anyone who steps foot on the area that he's decided that he's going to kill people in.
One of the friends at one point was like, screw this, started running towards him, the Cloaked Man. You think you'd have the courage to do that?
No, I would just run out.
Because even if this guy's got an axe, he's got a whatever. Didn't he? Is that a machete? Oh, that's what was sitting in there, a machete.
If you see anyone in a cloak, hiding their face in the middle of a cemetery, you never run towards them, even if they're not even armed.
This happened overseas, as we found out towards the end of the story. What do you think they mean by cloak?
I would think like a poncho, like a rain poncho.
Yeah.
I guess. So that's what I pictured the whole time, but also might be just thinking of, I Know What You Did Last Summer, kind of killer guy.
Oh, yeah, graveyard, yeah.
Has that rain poncho over his head.
Yeah. You were picturing Harry Potter, though?
No, I was definitely picturing that, a rain poncho look. That was probably a spirit, a very dangerous spirit at that.
Whoa, what was that?
Apparently a dangerous spirit attacked my camera just now.
Holy crap, yeah. Cloaked Man. Disturbing. Let us know if you're listening live, you think this was a person or a spirit. Few people, they are saying to the normal chat that connects Twitch and all of them together and see what they're saying. Harry Potter, when he's had enough BS, I'm going to go with a person, somebody said. When you hear about a groundskeeper, though, like traditionally old style fashion would be you live there on the grounds,
That's
in
a
the
good
house. That would be possible. But you would definitely have to be crazy. And destroying the headstone was kind of like, my part was like, would he vandalize the area he was the groundskeeper of,
Yeah, that's probably a different situation there. So they might actually have like a house and someone living there 24/7. If so, why would he break up the tombstones? That's like a crazy. But he's crazy enough to swing an axe at somebody or scare you off and wear a Halloween mask. So who knows? Maybe he's crazy enough to smash a tombstone or two.
He was just a random person in the cemetery. Who knows? What a great story. The Cloaked Man in the Cemetery. This will go down as a good one.
Yeah, definitely.
With that being said, man, you got to go to another crawler story right now?
Yeah, I got another crawler story for this next one.
Cue up the music for you.
I haven't told this story much, and it still creeps me out to this day. When I was 12 years old, this was about 2013, my family moved to this old house built in the 1940s. No one has lived in this house in over 30 years. It was the first fall that we've had at the house at this time. I was taking trash out to our back porch, and from there I could see a tree line that's normally filled with greenery and hard to see through. But since it was fall, the leaves had almost all gone away. As I walk out to take trash, I took a look out at the tree line, and about 30 or 40 yards away, I could see 4 or 5 of these 7-foot-tall, pure white, humanoid, no-faced creatures. I stand there in awe, not knowing what to think. It honestly looks like they were talking with hand gestures, because I couldn't hear anything. Now that I think of it, I heard nothing at all. No birds or bugs or even the trees with the visibly moving branches. I screamed at them and said, "Hey!" To which the creatures became motionless, like statues. I proceeded to ask, "Who are you?" To which I stand there for a second afterwards, but the creatures then dispersed. Now I could see far into the woods, and they all went their separate way, not even hearing a leaf or twig crack when they fled. They ran off so quickly that it seemed like a blur. To be honest, after that, I completely forgot about the experience until later that night. As I said, I was young, and at the time my mom worked night shift and wasn't there for when I screamed at the creatures. I lived essentially on some farmland, but my neighbors could walk up my driveway in a matter of 2 or 3 minutes. So later that night, around 9 p.m., I heard knocking on my back door, the one which led to the porch where I took the trash out earlier. And I thought maybe my mom told the neighbors to check up on me, so I go to check it out. I go to the back door, turn the back porch light on, and no one was there. Casually, I chopped it up to maybe one of my dogs hitting the door or something around it. After that, the knocking kept coming from the door, and it was weird because every time I rounded the corner to look at the door, the knocking would stop. This happened a few more times, and every few minutes, ranging from when I turn my back to the door and walk away to one moment I get back in my bed, to 5 to 10 minutes or so. After an hour of this and increasing anxiety, I got fed up, went outside to scream, "I don't know who you are, but you better stop." To my surprise, it did for about 30 minutes. Then knocking came from all around the house, on the windows, doors, and walls from outside for another 30 minutes. I was scared, curled in the corner of my bed. After half an hour, there was one last bang beside my window that I felt like it shook the house. And I was shocked the window didn't explode. That was the end of it. Nothing for the rest of the 5 years I lived there. The shocking part was the outside was old, as I stated. It could honestly be broken in with a good swing to the exterior. But where that final bang was, there was no sign of any impact. Plus, this creature full force shake my house and leave no damage. I lived in Tennessee at the time. Side note, I have some friends that had also mentioned that they had encountered creatures like this in the area.
Casually throws that in at the end. He's had friends that...
So, very similar, this loud noise banging, no visible impacts, no sign of the creature afterwards or wherever they had done it. I had read some of the comments on this, and some of the people there, this was not posted in a group about crawlers or anything like that, but someone said, this really sounds like a crawler story, and since you're in the area, it's been known to, the south and southeast is known for crawlers, as opposed to the southwest being known for skinwalkers. They were talking about how they could be in a crawler. And especially the size of the thing and the description. 7 feet tall, white, humanoid with blank or no face, as it were. Yeah, it definitely sounds the same. They said this is their behavior. If they see you and they know you're in an area, they seem to just pester you. Very strange creatures from all described stories of them.
I know that we go to this a lot, but this is how I'd probably react.
3, 1, 2, 3. Ah! I'm insane with anger! We're gonna beat your ass! We're gonna tear your head off! I'm losing my mind! It's time for an whooping! I cursed. I heard.
If it happened over and over again like that, I probably would.
Yeah, eventually you'd get fed up with it.
As an adult. Now, as a 13-year-old kid, as in the story, not so much. I would grab like a bat or something and I would do that. Yeah, like this story and the previous one both have so many similarities. 2 different people posted years apart, no connection to each other. Sometimes I even will click on their profiles and I'll read through some of the stuff they talk about just to make sure that there's no connection when the stories are so similar. And I couldn't find anything. So these are, 2 different people, 2 different stories, very similar, both scary in their own right because of something weird. Especially the first one with the baby sound, but this one with the actually seeing these creatures in the woods outside his house. I've always thought it would be terrifying to see something that didn't know you were there. Like it just happened to be in the area. Like these creatures were just out there doing whatever they were doing in those woods.
Yeah.
They weren't there because of him, and he saw him stumble upon them, right?
Right.
Nothing more terrifying than that, really, because what are they doing? Why are they out? Not here for me, but they could be up for something. And And then to suddenly do this strange thing to him, just to terrify him, torture him essentially for stumbling upon them, like vindictive. Almost, I guess it seems vindictive, right? This is a creature that feels angry that it was interrupted at this kid and decided to take out its anger on him by psychologically torturing him.
We're being told there's a story that's been messaged to us. Do you want to read it, or?
Yeah, I can.
Check the old Your Scary Stories inbox. We've got a story on deck that relates to this. If we want to incorporate it now, or if you're comfortable doing that, apparently.
I'm for it. I have it pulled up here. I suffer from something called sleep paralysis. Usually it happens once a month or so. To describe it, it's a bit like waking up but not wanting to open your eyes. The thing is, you're also still half asleep, so it can play some strange tricks on you. Depending on how imaginative you are, that can result in some fantastical or horrific things. However, the one thing that remains the same for everyone who experiences is you can't move. Keep that in mind when I start the story. Imagine this story starts off in the middle of the night. It was during a moment when everything would make sense to me. All I cared about was going back to bed. My mind wasn't ready to be awake. I wasn't thinking clearly. Woke up to a loud banging sound. The sound of the door to my bedroom. I knew the door handle to my bedroom wasn't working right. A strong wind from an open window, or even just press on it from the outside, would fling it open. It hit the wall and jarred me awake. I remember thinking, oh God, it's my damn dog pushing his way into my room. I leaned forward to check it out, and sure enough, I saw a shadow begin walking on all fours. All its hair was getting long and dragging on the ground a bit. I thought to myself, I need to cut its hair. I lied back down and decided I would do that tomorrow. As I was falling asleep again, my mind became clearer. I started to think about the short period of events. I hadn't owned the dog in several years. Immediately, my heart raced. I leaned up again to look around. What was it that I saw? I figured I had imagined, I think, because I didn't see anything. I figured it was just being a scaredy cat. A grown man shouldn't be afraid of the dark, I thought. So I just went back to bed. It must have been nothing. As I closed my eyes, I could hear something. Like a raspy sound. I could feel a warm air on my face. Couldn't move. I could feel something was in front of me. Breathing on my face. It was loud and it wasn't moving. I froze with my eyes shut for a reason. I thought if I didn't move, it wouldn't do anything to me. After what felt like 10 minutes, it stopped. I could move again. I opened my eyes and looked around to see if I could clearly make out anything in the room. I could only see a shadow in the hallway and it looked like something was scooting along the floor. It was hard to tell. I got up and grabbed something. It was a golf club, but I decided I needed to do something about this. I wasn't imagining it. I stood up and followed it. Wherever it was, I went to my living room and I saw the front door was slightly open. A breeze was coming in. Closed it and locked it and searched my entire house top to bottom. I couldn't find anything. Whatever it was gone. Since then, I've been left to decide what it was. Maybe a raccoon made its way into the house. Maybe why did it have long hair? Maybe it was sleep paralysis. But why was it able to move around and look at first? I may never know.
Gosh, this happened to the sender?
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Wow. Thought it was the dog, maybe. Probably did have a bad dog, I'm sure, at some point. They'd eat Nutter Butters and stuff. That's crazy. That's actually terrifying. Somebody said this terrifying. That's a perfect way to describe it. Sleep paralysis. So much stuff happens.
I will say this doesn't sound like a normal sleep paralysis that I've ever had. Normally, you can't, sit up and look.
Yeah, I can't move at all. I can hardly move. It's hard to move my head, even.
Yeah. I will say, I didn't necessarily ever have, I've had similar things happen in dreams where I've gotten up because I was certain that something had been in the room and I had gotten out and looked around, but I didn't experience the full measure of something like that before.
Yeah, well, thank God.
But sometimes you get that feeling, or at least I have, where I felt like something was there at some point, and I got up and I was like, well, there's a pretty good chance if this is some sort of creature, it's going to kill me, but I got to get up and I got to look. I've at times thought there's a good chance I'm going to die if I go out in the middle of this room, outside of this room, but there was no way I couldn't because of people that in the house that I needed to be sure were okay.
Yeah.
I've checked people's rooms. I've been like, but I knew whatever it was that I had experienced before, similar to this, I knew it wasn't a person. That's the only thing. Like, there's very few times in my life where I've felt something, a presence of something in the house that I knew wasn't a person. It's just something like a smell almost. Like, you can tell when you're dealing with something that isn't right. That reminds me of when I've done that. Concerning because of Cinder saying something that similar, but more so because I never actually saw anything. It was more just a feeling. Very concerning, but terrifying story. Very similar to the crawler, too, because it crawled around and scooted around.
Noted the hair, too.
Yeah, the hair.
We got a good 2-for-1 there, I tell you that, with that story.
Yeah, we're on for a scary evening tonight.
We're in the midst of a scary evening. That was a double whammy there. So let's move on. Let's get into the Wendigo footage. Are you excited about this?
Oh, God, yeah.
Again, going to one of my favorite shows, Paranormal Caught on Camera. This guy in Kentucky found this on his camera footage in his driveway one night.
Figure, pale, gangly, and hunched over, slowly sidestepping across his driveway. And Doug and his wife are baffled.
You see his face clearly, right there.
Hi, my name is Doug McCloney, and this is my video. I was surprised, totally surprised. But then again, where I've been raised in Kentucky, I've just had all kinds of just weird experiences. So part of me in my head was thinking, that's something cool. That's something that shouldn't be out there. It looks like his legs are bent backwards, or his joints are backwards almost. It's definitely not human. You can tell he doesn't walk like a human does, for sure.
What we see is this strange, skulking creature, sort of menacingly walking across the driveway at night.
The figure seems to be all one color as white. It seems to be somewhat slender and not moving like a normal human gait. There's something kind of slithery about how it's creeping along and looking around.
It's also curious that this thing does not look like it's trying to hide. It's not behaving in a particularly stealthy manner as it moves around in a fairly open area.
There's a moment where the face kind of turns toward the camera and it looks very disfigured. You put all this together and you think of the fact that it's out in this rural area in the middle of the night, not clothed properly. I don't really know what the hell this is.
Neither did Doug. But when he posts the video on social media, commenters focus on one particular creature, the Wendigo.
They're said to attack humans and eat them or possess their souls, so that human has a desire to eat other humans.
If so, not a good thing to have in your driveway. But also, as Doug himself said, in these parts, not quite as unexpected as one might think. Parts of Appalachia appear to hold a special attraction for the supernatural.
Your thoughts?
I have a lot of thoughts. None of them good. Wow. I wasn't expecting this video.
What were you expecting?
Not something less clear, something less horrifying, like more easily explainable. That guy wasn't explainable. But wow.
Why is he walking like that? Is that how they walk?
I don't know, but you know what's weird? Very similar to the description of the crawler and the last story I did.
So apparently these Wendigo things are cannibals?
Yeah. So the Wendigo...
I actually didn't know that until I read this. Until I saw this video and I started reading more. Go ahead.
Yeah, the Wendigo is a curse on people originally in the northwestern states, and also the Canada, people who cannibalized their party members of people who were out there exploring or hunting would turn into a creature that would feast on human remains for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
And then if you were bitten by a Wendigo, you would turn into one as well. Cursed by a Native American shaman from the First Nations of Canada.
This thing is just creepy, dude.
Described the crawler in my previous story. He was a tall, white humanoid with no features, very similar to this too. But wow, that is something. That is.
What do you think's happening here with the light thing?
I don't know if that's like, is that like them just highlighting the video there?
Yeah, making it brighter, I think.
Yeah, just to like give you more distinction, which is not needed because this thing is clear as a bell. Good Lord.
Look at it. It's a doing.
Yeah. It's so strange.
Apparently, psychosis, as it was stating, is a common thing. Humans become possessed by the Wendigo spirit after being in a situation of needing food and having no other choice besides cannibalism.
That is arguably one of the most unsettling videos I have ever seen in my life.
Wendigo psychosis. It's a thing out there, apparently.
Wow. That's a hell of a video.
It's just like,
if you're trying to process what I just watched.
If you think it's fake, like, what? How's it something that skinny? Like, what the hell is that?
Like, if this is a man, walking around, why? Like, this video isn't actually low definition, not too low definition at all, because you can see this car very clearly.
Yeah.
And, like, you can make out features of it. But whatever this thing is almost featureless. Hey, it's moving. Like, one guy said, it's almost like some of the joints are wrong. If you look at the bottom of its legs, its feet are almost bent backward in a goat-like hoof-like figure, like a bent back animal leg kind of thing. Like its knees are normal, but then like near the bottom, it's very strange looking. That part really does kind of lend credence to the whole Wendigo thing, because they sometimes take on sort of animalistic features. Some of them even have almost like an elk-like skull face.
It's so weird that you said that. I'm literally looking at a picture like that, which immediately reminded me of the knot deer.
Yeah, the knot deer. Yeah, because they have like an elk-like skull face, and then they would have feet that are bent back like a deer's hoof or something like that towards the bottom, or a satyr or a fawn, depending if you go with Greek or Roman explanation of them. Very animalistic, very primal, very strange. And this is one of the most bizarre videos I have ever seen. And it's very misshapen. The whole, I want to point out, the head is misshapen. Everything about this thing is wrong and unsettling to look at.
How tall do you think it is?
Well, it's bent over double here. Crouching.
It's bent over so far. It's just...
Yeah, I would say this is if it was standing up, a very tall creature. Because, like, it looks like it's about this is like an SUV or something there.
Something, yeah.
And it's like crouched with bent legs, crouched over as far as humanly possible.
Yeah, look at its feet, like you said.
And it looks like it's as tall as the front end of that vehicle. So if it was standing up, probably 6.5 feet tall, 6'7", 6'8".
That's crazy. I don't know. I don't have much to say about it. We're definitely going to have to dig more into the Wendigo thing here in the future.
Yeah,
we're reading about it on the side screen over here about...
We're going to get more Wendigo. We're going to need more knot deer. We're going to need some more crawlers. We're going to compare them.
Yeah, this is crazy. Didn't know it was had a creature was inspired in Fallout 76 of this.
Yeah. There's a few of them, I think, in that. I'm a big fan of... So, this was in Kentucky? Is that correct?
Yeah, Appalachian Mountain areas. Yeah, so eastern Kentucky.
It's weird that Wendigo are known to be up in the northern areas and then also known to be in the Appalachian Mountain areas. I don't know why those two areas. I'm guessing because they're two very dangerous areas where people had to travel through and resulted in cannibalism at times.
You're right.
And which created this creature. These two areas, despite being separated by massive, distances, both have Wendigo creatures, and they're both horrifying.
It's super scary.
Yeah, that right there was one of the creepiest videos I've ever seen. I keep looking at it, like, I was watching over there, I was like, I don't know what the heck this is. This isn't
Right across your driveway. Imagine waking up in the morning and you seen that on your camera alerts. That'd be crazy.
The absolute most insane thing to look at. It's definitely not a man. That's not a person.
That guy has no girth to it, has no weight to it,
Yeah. That reminds me of the Nightcrawler video that I see. And actually, I need to send that to you because you're gonna love that one. Yeah, that was nuts. That was a monster.
What do you got? Go to the chat real quick. What do we have?
A lot of comments of people being very disturbed by that.
Well, I mean, it's shockingly creepy, I must say. You just hope that you never have to experience anything like that ever in your life.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't know what else to say.
If I didn't already have a few weapons inside the house, I would get them. If I saw that, if I lived in an area outside of town and I saw that on my camera, because I think from the looks of it, he doesn't live in the middle of town. And so him getting that on his camera, this isn't just some rando walking through his yard on, drugs or whatever.
Right.
This is something you do not want to ever see. I would definitely be very, very careful going out at night. And I would probably set up more cameras. And I would try to figure out a way to, whatever you need to do to protect yourself from a Wendigo or some other creature, I would start researching it, like, wholeheartedly.
Yeah, I'm very thankful for the deer and the raccoons in my yard now. It could be something much worse.
Yeah, no kidding.
All right, man. Your time. Your time is now. Yeah, last story of the night.
Yeah.
Get the music going.
All right. This story, I want to say that this story is attached with a separate story that isn't involved with it's not a scary story, but this was something I was able to verify, something else that happened to this woman, and I will address that at the end. But she starts off by saying, my husband died in 2020. After he died, I found a series of very unpleasant things about him. It was devastating. It took me more than 3 years to come to grips with. He died in August of 2020, and I sold her a condo in June of 2021. He had renovated the entire condo. Kitchens, both bathrooms, flooring, trim stores, everything. Took him nearly 3 years. I have 2 small dogs, and when the realtor told me someone was coming to see the property, I took the dogs and I locked the door and went outside. The realtor told me to be out for about 30 minutes or so. After that period of time, I went back inside and upstairs. The door was locked. I entered, and when I did, it looked as if people had been there. Doors were moved, the laundry doors were wide open. I had closed them. Then I got a text from the realtor asking me why I didn't put the key in the lockbox on the main floor outside. The people couldn't get in with their realtor. I'll be honest, I was in a very bad place after he died, particularly after what I found. Thinking in detail was not something I was doing. Went to the main washroom and saw the bath mat was sitting over the tub, not the way I had left it. I touched it and it felt wet, almost like someone had gotten out of the shower and had been standing on it. It was a fairly big apartment, 2 bedrooms and an office. When the dogs and I were in bed at night, I could hear noises in the kitchen after he died. I was too afraid to get out of bed. It was a concrete building and we couldn't hear anything people were doing in apartments near us or hearing something like that at all. I moved in June of 2021 to a new condo. The first night there, I was alone. Dogs were being taken care of by a family member. I was laying in bed, not asleep, laying on my side at the edge. I felt something or someone brush past me. My hair actually moved. It scared the hell out of me. I lay there for a few minutes, afraid to move. Finally, I moved again. I moved far away from where I had been living. Last Christmas Eve, I was in bed. My bedroom door was open. I clearly heard 3 knocks on the door. It happened twice. This also really scared me. I'd never been one to think of the spirit world until recently. Last Christmas, I made statements out loud. I told them to leave me alone. So far, all has been good. The last 4 years have been a real ride. Now, as I said, I was able to verify something about this woman. She mentioned several times that she learned something about her husband in a completely separate post on a different group about dealing with narcissistic people in their life. She found out that her husband was had a stroke, and she didn't have her phone, but he had his phone. So she asked him for the code so she'd call 911. And he told her the code, but then he immediately said, "I'm sorry." And he died shortly after that. She opened up the phone, and she found texts from a woman that he was having an affair with for the past 10 years, and included several pictures that they had sent back and forth. That's when she realized that she had been lied to and emotionally manipulated for several years. So she believes that the spirit of this emotionally manipulative husband had been following her around and toying with her since he passed.
That's creepy.
Yeah.
So the spirit's seeking some sort of vengeance?
I don't even know if it's vengeance or if it's more like continuing his behavior in life. You know, just like assuming that she was still his and, you know, his bad behavior, he could continue. You know, she said that the year before she had told the spirit to leave her alone. She hadn't seen anything or heard anything since then. So perhaps he did, and perhaps he will leave her alone. It reminds me of a story I had heard. I don't remember all the details because I just can't remember them at the moment. But my brother told me a story that he had heard from somebody. He talked to this guy who was in a halfway house at one point. And he had a friend who died. He was laying in bed the night that the guy died. And he heard the door open to his room. And the guy had shared a room with him there at the halfway house. He heard the guy call out his name, the dead man, called out his name. And he said, "Am I alive?" And he said, "No, man, you're not alive. You need to go." And he said, "Where I gotta go?" He said, "I'm not sure, but you can't stay here." And he said, "Okay." And he left. And he never heard the spirit again.
Wow. So scary. The posters are falling down in the studio, I guess, behind me. I think it's been down the whole time, but
I didn't even notice that, but yeah, it is down.
unless it came down during, I don't know.
But anyway, the idea of telling the spirit that it has to go.
Yeah.
I've heard other people say that before too. That you couldn't do that. If a spirit doesn't have sway over you, right? Some people say they don't. It doesn't actually have power over you. It thinks it does, and it will try to exert a power over you. But if you tell it to go, it will go.
You say, "Man, you gotta get the hell out."
Yeah. So I feel like very similar situation. Although the one man, he was not an evil man. This guy was, he was emotionally manipulating this woman. He was cheating on her for 10 years. And also, he had a kid with the woman he was cheating on her with. That's a very terrible thing to do to a person. And then to continue to torture them in the afterlife is a very terrible thing, too. By, messing with stuff, making messes, and making noises. It's a terrible, terrible thing. I could see that a person who has that manipulative spirit about them in life may be having that in death. And so that's what I took away from the story. And then, like I said, I always check things when I can, and I found out that other story that didn't mention the spirit, didn't mention a ghost.
Right.
It was just talking about what happened when the guy died. And then later on, she talked about the ghostly encounters. I thought it was very creepy, subtly insidious. You had a little bit of whatever he was doing, he felt like he had right to do.
Yeah.
Until she told to leave.
You'd have to, yeah. I just thankful I've never experienced something like that. I always think that when I hear these stories, I'm like, man, I'm glad I don't have something like that I deal with,
Yeah.
What a cool night of stories, though, man. It's another good episode. So let me get a clip pulled up, then we'll come back and talk about the stories tonight.
Yeah.
Content was clipped by Jeff Townsend Media. However, the content is owned by the original creator of the content.
You got time, you can do it. Do it. Come on, Dennis. Whoa. Nice, Dennis. Oh, thought you were one of your big brothers. You're not so bad. You're not so bad. Hey, pets. Hey, pets. Hey, pets. Hey, look, stick. Look, stick. Stick, stupid. That's a stick, boy. Look at this stick. You want to get it. And no wonder you're extinct. I'm gonna run you over when I come back down.
It's so funny. I literally watched that a week ago.
Really? I haven't watched that in a long time.
It's such a good movie.
That's actually like the part that we were rooting for the dinosaurs right there, right?
Yeah. I love that movie so much. All right. So this has been a wild, in my opinion. This is one of the wildest nights we've had in terms of stories.
Yeah, it has been. It's been consistent too, actually. The Cloaked Man was a completely different. Well, he was crawling around too, I guess, like we said. What a crazy night. Cloaked Man's still my favorite. I can't stop thinking about the Cloaked Man.
Cloaked Man that was a lot of fun. That was a really crazy story, and no matter which way you slice it, that one is nuts. Because, you have a crazy person, a gravekeeper, or you have a vengeful spirit. Both nightmarish. The Wendigo video, or whatever that thing was, that was nightmarish. That too. That was something else. What's funny is, like, we went in extra innings tonight with a couple of extra stories because, I had the one that we shared from that was sent to us tonight, as well as the 3 I originally did, and then I did that little one on the one I heard from one of my brothers. I'm going to say right now, of my stories, it was actually the ones I read anyway, was the one that was sent to us as my favorite.
Yeah, I agree with that.
That video of the Wendigo, or whatever the heck it was, I'm probably going to have a nightmare about that tonight, honestly. So
I just can't stop thinking about the Cloaked Man. I might have a nightmare about that.
Yeah, that one is like, that would make a good, scary movie.
That's what I was thinking. And I kept thinking as I was reading the story, he kept saying things like 10 minutes passed by, and I'm thinking, how long were you at this damn place? I would not have stuck around that long,
Yeah, I think that it being like an old English cemetery makes it even scarier in many ways, because...
Saying the English are more scary?
No, but like a lot of the old magic and the old like spirit summoning and stuff like that comes from that part of the world. The Native Americans have summoned some spirits into our world, with the skinwalkers and things like that. But like the Druids of England and Scotland, they did a lot, and they did it for many, many years. And so that whole world, that whole land was trod upon by Druids. You had Romans and their gods and whatever their priests could do for many years. So there's a lot of things in those areas that have been living there for so long. Creatures, ghosts, whatever. So the idea of a cemetery in the middle of that world,
yeah,
there's magic there. There's energy there that isn't the same as ours. Not the same as this country. I do believe that there could be something that could come out of that is otherworldly. Now, whether or not this was otherworldly or it was, like this keeps saying, the crazy gravekeeper, That's two different things. But a crazy gravekeeper could be possessed by something. He could have been possessed by a spirit. That would be my assumption as to why he would smash a gravestone. Because the gravekeepers are very dedicated to their work. Like, I've never met a gravekeeper or listened to a gravekeeper talk about their work in anything but the most respectful term.
It was a good story. I think for me, I was constantly able to put myself into the story.
Yep.
Visually, I was imagining it. I feel like I was right there as I was reading it. You really do it with anything. It's a really good story. You try connecting the scene in your head and illustrating it all. And I feel like I could do all that with that story.
Yeah.
And I even have visions of what I see as this cloaked person,
Yeah. In my head, he looks like Bruce Willis from Unbreakable with the when he's standing in the rain, stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I pictured him. Or like I said, I didn't know what you did last summer, Killer.
I'm still thinking Gears of War. The hammer of Uncle Don. I'm thinking that sort of a character. Like a bigger, bulkier. I don't know. They didn't say much about the size, but I'm picturing like the bulky, like running like they do in that,
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, I definitely could see that because they mentioned how large the weapons he was using was.
Yeah.
So it seemed like a bigger guy.
It's hard to get bigger than the hammer of Uncle Don, though. Powerful hammer. Dude, another great night, man. If you're listening to this live, we appreciate it. A lot of the same people do every week, and we just can't thank you enough. And if you're listening to this post live, you should jump on here with us on Monday evening. We have a schedule up online. I know we say it every episode, we're like a broken record, but it's really, the live experience is awesome.
It really is. It's my personal favorite thing, just because like there's stuff that you miss, like the energy. There's an energy to the live show.
Yeah. Thanks again. Another great episode. Thanks everybody for checking it out. Go to yourscarystories.com. If you want to check out more content, go to jeffyoutube.com. Of course, if you want to submit a story like we had happen tonight, do it at yourscarystories.com or hit us up on social media. Your closing thoughts, Luke.
My current closing thoughts are I am going to look up how to keep crawlers away and how to kill a Wendigo. Because that thing terrified me.
Yeah, I would not want to get in a hand battle with a Wendigo.
No.
I'm just going to end it with my usual. We're going to kick it off to our homeboy, Storm Moss. Until next time, keep being you. Keep being great.
Jeff Townsend Media. CG, good night.
And the question is, do I stay here? Will you be back? Are you gonna come back? Will you be back? Are you coming back?